Hello YouTube and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. It's here playing Elden Ring and we're doing another late game build guide. Today it's going to be our one hit lightning faith build. A lot of people really like faith builds. I'm one of them, and my favorite faith type stuff to do is lightning, and this build that I've got here for you is, at least in my personal opinion, the most overpowered lightning faith build you can do. And so like all of my late game builds, these are for New Game Plus. I'm demonstrating this on a New Game Plus 2 account, and this will be at level 200. So these are very late game builds. Obviously you can imitate them to some extent at lower levels, but they're mostly designed for New Game Plus playthroughs, where the enemies are significantly buffed and therefore you need to deal considerable more amounts of damage to them. So let's just dive on in and start off with my level suggestions. So you can see, like I said, we're at level 200 here, and I've got the points distributed in kind of a quality build, but mostly you'll be able to tell the logic behind it. So obviously faith is going to be our big thing. I've got 80 points into faith. Or I've got faith at level 80, I should say, and that's definitely an area where you're going to want to put the most points in this one. And then the rest are going to depend on other factors about this playthrough. So I've got optional weapons on here, which might make you want to put more into dexterity and strength, or you might want to use a different weapon or something else, and so maybe you need an arcane thing. But as I've got the points distributed, vigor of 55, which gives us a nice healthy amount of health, mind of 55, so we can cast quite a few times without needing to reload, endurance of 36, so we can wear a little bit heavier armor and still maintain medium load, strength of 35, so we can still hit with our melee weapons to a certain extent, and we can use a couple different types of melee weapons that I actually like using for this build. Same goes for dexterity. And then intelligence of 25, just so we can use some, again, it's just requirements for stuff. As far as the points go, like I said, most of these don't matter that much, that they have to be exactly this level. If you don't need your hit points that high because you never get hit because you're just so good, then maybe don't put as much into vigor. The big thing is going to be that faith. That's where I have the points distributed for this build. As for the items that make up this build, so the main ones that I like to use for this are going to be the Commander's Standard in your right hand, and then the Erdtree Seal as your alternate for your right hand, and then the Jellyfish Shield for your left hand. And so the Commander's Standard is important because it has the Rallying Standard ability, which the description just says, hoist the Warbanner aloft and give a rallying command, raises the attack power and defense for self and nearby allies. So this gives you a good attack power and a defense boost before you go into it, which I find to be very, very useful. It's going to boost the attack and I'm pretty sure it still works on all of your attacks, so it's not just attack power for the Commander's Standard. It'll count for the spell you cast or the incantation you cast, so that's why I like using that one. And obviously it's also a good weapon just to use on its own, so halberds are good weapons in this game, and the Commander's Standard is very, very good. But yeah, so that's why you want that, is for the Rallying Standard special attack. Then the for the seal, you could use whichever one you want. But for me, and especially when I'm doing a lightning build like this, so I'm not specifically trying to tap into other boosts, the Erdtree Seal plus 10, we're going to get that 353 incantation scaling because our we scale at S rating for faith, and we have 80 in faith, so that's just a really powerful seal, so that's why I like to use the Erdtree Seal. And then the Jellyfish Shield for our offhand shield. And now this is a weird weapon that a lot of people probably haven't used much in the game, but it's actually really easy to get, and it's got a pretty sweet boost to it. So the special attack for this one is called Contagious Fury, and it once you initiate it, it lasts for 30 seconds, and it increases the damage you deal by 20%. It's not the best shield in the world. It does block some damage types. You can see we have a guard boost of 57 with it. Even though the description says it doesn't block any, it does actually block some, but it's not the best shield in the world. We mostly just want it for that Contagious Fury because then we get that sweet 20% damage boost with it, so that's why we have it. As for alternate weapons for this build, obviously the Blasphemous Blade or a pair of Blasphemous Blades is going to be awesome here, because we have that great faith scaling with it and just immense physical damage, and the Taker's Flames is a pretty sweet special attack. So if you want to use something else, so you don't want to use the Commander's Standard because you don't want that attack power and defense boost, and you'd rather just have the Blasphemous Blade, then that's fine. You can't equip all of them because then you'll have a heavy load with this build, but that's the alternate weapon or weapons for this build, would be the Blasphemous Blades. For our outfit, it's entirely about the fashion, so you could wear whatever you want, but the style I like going with for a lightning build, just because I think it looks really cool, is the Sanguine Noble Hood, the Malekith's Armor, Knight's Cavalry Gauntlets, and Knight's Cavalry Greaves. So I just think, as a matter of style, that it just looks really cool together, the hood and the Malekith's armor having a very, very similar color scheme, and the hood obviously giving you more of a mage look anyway, and not looking as stupid as Malekith's helmet does. And then the greaves and the gauntlets being black, so they look really nice, but having you know, really, really high defense stats, so they keep you really safe, and contrasting against the armor better than Malekith's gauntlets and greaves do, at least in my opinion. So I really like this outfit, but that's totally just fashion. You could wear whatever you want, as long as you can still roll nice and quickly with it. Then for our talismans, we're going to have the Phlox Canvas Talisman, which greatly raises the potency of incantations. So since this is a Faith incantation build, it makes sense. It raises your incantations by 7.5%, so that's a pretty decent boost to the damage power of your incantations, so that's why I like the Phlox Canvas Talisman. Then we're going to use the Godfrey icon, which enhances charged spells and skills. So this one is just going to help with any time we're charging something, and one of the attacks we use here can be charged, so if you charge it like that, it will, again, give you a sweet boost to that incantation. Then we have the Lightning Scorpion Charm, which says it raises lightning attacks, but lowers the damage negation. This one is going to be another sweet trade-off, because it's going to give you quite a bit more power to your lightning attacks, and not a lot of enemies deal lightning damage, so you're not even going to be sacrificing that much. I mean, obviously keep it in mind if you do go against a lightning type enemy that you will have slightly lower damage negation because of this, but it's just going to give you a sweet boost to your lightning type incantations, and that's why obviously we have to go with it, because we're doing a lightning build. Then lastly, the Ritual Sword Talisman raises your attack power when your HP is at maximum, so this is going to help with that initial blast, and since this build is kind of based around initial blast. Obviously, it's really powerful in all situations, but the initial blast and a lot of times can one-shot even decently high-level bosses. So that's a great one to have on there. Obviously, for your ashes, it's going to come down to personal preference, what you like using. I know a lot of people like the Dung Eater or the Black Knife Tiche, but for me, Mimic Tears is going to be the way to go, because then now you just have two extremely powerful one-hit Faith builds. So that's the way I go with that. For our Wondrous Physic, we're going to do the Cerulean Hidden Tear, which eliminates FP consumption, so once you've used this, you can cast as many times as possible in the time frame that it lasts without ever using any FP, so that's really nice. And of course the Lightning Shrouding Cracked Tear, which temporarily boosts lightning attacks, so this is going to be another boost to our lightning damage. So all in all, this is an extremely powerful build. Then for our incantations, just keeping it simple, I just have 3 picked out for this one. We're going to have Golden Vow, the Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike, and the Lightning Spear. And so obviously the Ancient Dragon's Lightning Strike is an incredibly powerful attack. This is going to be mostly for bosses, or I guess larger crowds, or even semi-bosses or whatever, you know, big type enemies. And then the Lightning Spear is a more multi-purpose one that is just going to be great for this build for taking out mob type enemies. So if you're running around and you're never using your Blasphemous Blade or your Standard or whatever, you just want to run around casting all the time, the Lightning Spear is going to be your bread and butter, whereas the Dragon's Lightning Strike is your big powerful attack. And of course Golden Vow is just important because it increases the attack and defense for yourself and allies. So you could use this instead of the Commander's Standard, that's up to you, or you could use it in conjunction with it. Either way, it does basically the same thing. You and anyone fighting with you is going to get a big attack boost and a defense boost. Honestly, a pretty straightforward process as far as overpowered builds go, because it's just a 5-step attack type thing. But yeah, let's go test it out against some bosses. And so just to go through the process, you're going to want to use your Rallying Standard, and then your Physic, and then if you cast Golden Vow, it's going to give you a nice boost there. And then we can use our Contagious Fury, and we are now ready to cast incantations. So you can see if we just start off with our basic one, we have a pretty immense one, but then of course our nice one-shot attack, which is pretty powerful. Now obviously that's not a super high-level boss, but I think it was just a good demonstration of some of the more moderate bosses that you're going to run into pretty frequently. So again, just to show you the process, we're going to do our Rallying Standard, then we're going to use our Physic, then we're going to cast Golden Vow. Then we do Contagious Fury. And now we're ready with our incantations. So we'll just, there's some golems here that we'll be able to fight. So you can see even against enemies like golems who aren't particularly susceptible to lightning type damage, it still does just an incredible amount of damage. So yeah, like I said, it's useful against all types of enemies, and that's why I like this build so much. Because like I said, these golems here, golems aren't easy to kill with Faith. You know, they're not particularly susceptible to it, but it still does just a great amount of damage against them. Even these lighter lightning spears, you can see we're dealing 1,500, 2,000 attack each time, and that's not using any of our boosts. Because we could go ahead and use our Contagious Fury again, and then, you know, now we've got another... But yeah, so very powerful, even against golems who, like I said, they're not particularly easy to kill with Faith build. But let's go pick out a real boss so you can see it against someone big. Here we go. Not the boss I intended to use it against, but definitely a good option because here we'll be able to show a enemy that's not... that has decent points, but isn't, again, isn't such a pushover when it comes to lightning damage. So the Mariner didn't make it very long. That's not the enemy I want to show, though. Here we go, we're in the big times now, so we're gonna cast our Golden Vow, take our Cerulean Tears, get our, this thing going on. I don't know why we haven't been attacked yet, but I'm just gonna take advantage of it. We just did 17,000 damage on this bad boy. Woo-wee! And of course, because we're using a big old area of effect attack, we're also taking out all of his dragon boys around us. So that's just to show you how extremely overpowered this build is. We can take out entire groups like this of high-level enemies, including one of the biggest damage sponge type bosses in the game. So just a ridiculously overpowered build. Like I said, obviously those real big powerful blast attacks are immensely powerful against bosses like this. But this build's also really good just against regular type enemies, because obviously you can still deal a lot of damage with those spears. And obviously, you know, Blasphemous Blade combo with this is... There's a reason I said to use these as a backup weapon, because they're just ridiculously powerful. I want to let this guy blow the horn. There we go. Alright, there. Now we can use our special attacks just a little bit. So if you want to run around using the Blasphemous Blade instead of like the Lightning Spear or even the Commander's Standard, especially if you're using the Golden Vow spell instead of the Standard, then yeah, the Blasphemous Blade is obviously a ridiculously good option for your melee weapon or whatever for this build. So yeah, like I said, that is my current favorite Faith build in the game. It's ridiculously powerful, you get to wear a really cool outfit, and you get to use lightning attacks, which are my favorite ones in the game. So, hope you enjoyed this video, hope you found it useful if this is the type of build that you were looking to build. But that's all for today, so we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.